In my previous video, I was just overwhelmed by all of the comments that were encouraging me to get a home storage battery. 155 comments in well under a day, and some of them are my replies, but the amount of people who are saying battery, 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 go for a bigger, better battery. So I have been investigating that a little bit, and I want to show some of my findings with you. Like you can see here, Thomas, thanks for sharing. 20 kilowatt hour battery. I could have gone through and highlighted just the amount of people who had shared this recommendation from their own personal experience, which is great. It's really helpful to see that. These are some of the batteries that have been recommended. So first of all, we've got the Give Energy 5 kilowatt hour. We were looking potentially at 2 of those, which apparently can give you, because it can handle a bit better amp power rating, that you can draw more wattage from having multiple batteries in that case. You can see the prices here on this, just a website online that I quickly looked up, Trade Sparky. In comparison, you can see the My Energy Libby battery pack, considerably more expensive. The Fox Energy Cube, a little bit down on the power, but a little bit cheaper. Grow Watt seems quite competitively priced. They do use the new lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry, so hopefully that means good stability and long lifespan as they promote. But ultimately, looking at the SunSync battery as being IP65 lithium iron phosphate chemistry, and seems to have everything that you could need, and quite importantly has nice shallow depth if you need to wall mount it. So this could be quite the ticket, and the price looks very attractive. From what I understand, they are bringing out a new model, so this could be a bit of a clearance. But all of these seem to get blown out of the water when I start looking at a company called Fogstar Batteries. So as a newbie, as I am, they were unknown to me, so I'm learning, but a few people seem very familiar with them, and they do a lot of DIY kits, and the DIYers seem to love them. A lot of their batteries being used in camper vans and canal boats and everything else. But look at the price, £2,500, but you get 15.5 kilowatt hours for that. Comes on wheels or can be wall mounted, and it just says coming soon. And as I look down through some of the details, it's got an inbuilt heating system, so no worries putting it in a cold garage or something. It has a built-in touch screen, so you can see what's going on with it, which could be helpful. Sleep mode, and it shows here that they are lithium iron phosphate chemistry again, quite heavy, 140 kilograms. This also, I think, said a 200 amp DC breaker. Now I don't know if that means it can actually draw 200 amps, which is absolutely phenomenal amount of power, but quite impressive. So here we can see it has a few more technical details. Of course, I don't know any of this stuff. Preloaded inverter protocols, so I guess these are inverters that will just work with straight out of the box with very little headache or configuration. Now what I quickly did was I chucked them into this spreadsheet. Let me just look at the here we go. This just shows here those batteries that I've just highlighted, the kilowatt hour capacity, and the prices that I've just quickly found them all on either this one website, Trade Sparky, Solar Sparky, or directly on the Fogstar website. And then this one is showing how many pounds per kilowatt hour. So for example, we go from the Libby, £478 per kilowatt hour, all the way down to the Fogstar of £161 per kilowatt hour. And I'm not sure on the VAT on that, because it looks like this is a website that is aimed at the kind of enthusiast and not so much aimed at trade. I presume that price also includes VAT, so I'd be very interested to know if there will be a coming VAT exemption on this Fogstar battery as well. Anyway, let's put all of that aside, and the Fogstar seems a no-brainer. If you look around on their website a little bit more, so here it just says coming soon, they do actually have a blog article that came out, what was the day on this? January the 2nd, 2024. And further down that page, Rebecca Baker of Fogstar Batteries, she says this battery is coming, launching in March 2024. So this one could be just around the corner, maybe a bit late for me to get it in the same time as the solar system, but maybe something to add on to my hybrid inverter later down the line. Okay, something else I want to show, some calculations here. So I've just switched over to Octopus Tracker, and for my region the average cost per kilowatt hour has been 18 pence per kilowatt hour. When I downloaded the CSV data for the last I can't remember if I averaged it over 6 months or 9 months, but over a substantial period of time it's 18p per kilowatt hour, standard rate at 28p per kilowatt hour. Octopus Go, it seems to be the I was going to say the go-to tariff, but that's a terrible pun there. It does seem to be the go-to tariff for a lot of people, saying charge the batteries up at night, and then the expensive rate isn't much higher than a standard rate anyway. So if you have to use some peak electricity, not the end of the world. So these are some examples that if I use my projected figure of 5,500 kilowatt hours per year at the standard rate, it's going to cost me £1,540. If that's all on Octopus Tracker, £990. If that was all on Octopus Go, £495. And if it was on the expensive rate, £1,705. So you can see already the difference between Tracker and Octopus Go, £500 per year. If we invest, say, £5,000 into batteries, that's going to take me 10 years to recuperate the return on investment, and that is factoring in 100% on cheap energy rate. Now, for example, if I change these figures, you can see here this is the percentage on the cheap rate, and then this is the percentage on the expensive rate. So we go 90% on cheap, 10% on expensive, 80% on cheap, 20% on expensive. I hope this little calculation makes sense to you. So then you can start to see the break-even costs and what the total cost would be here. So we go from £616 for 90% on cheap rate, all the way, if we only use 40% on cheap rate, it's going to cost us £1,221, which already is way more expensive than Octopus Tracker. Now, looking at these figures, the battery is not looking like it's going to make good economic sense. So to beat Tracker, we need to use over 60% of use from cheap rate electricity, which is this one here, and that's not factoring in any conversion losses, not considering any hit on export payments or any of those other factors. So just down here I've also put that if our annual export is projected to be 3,000 kilowatt hours from a solar array, on Tracker we would get our 15p per kilowatt hour, which would be 450, and on Octopus Go then it would be 270 on export. Now, what I haven't calculated or factored in is you could run on the Tracker rate through the summer months, and then through the winter months, when you're relying more on the battery, you could then transition over to the Go rate. So the export may not be so much of an issue, but if you just want to set and forget it, combined consumption and generation, Tracker 540, and if we're on, and so that is the 990, the cost, total annual cost, take away the potential export of 450, and that leaves us with 540. So then we see that on Octopus Go, if we stick with that all year round and we export the same amount of kilowatt hours, and then we manage to use 75% of our consumption through the batteries, then we will be beating the Octopus tracker. But this is a big question mark for me. The capital cost of a home battery is quite significant, as I've shown you here, some of these prices, and these are just supply prices, that's not including labour, fitting, electrician, etc. Is a battery really making good financial sense? I'm not quite so sure. I'd love to engage a lot more in this conversation and look at some of the figures. Of course, if I could load shift all of my consumption to off-peak times, that would be favourable. If I had an electric vehicle and I had a high consumption from that, that would be favourable, because that again would move more of my consumption to an off-peak time. That would definitely help. I'm just not so sure with our usage profile and our situation that a battery is actually as financially advantageous as many people seem to think it is. But I'm open for any corrections or anything you can see wrong in my sums here, and maybe you can help me understand why going for a battery is going to be a better choice than solar, because that seems to be the prevailing wisdom at the moment. And especially from these really great comments, there's a lot of very intelligent people on here that are sharing a lot of wisdom, but a lot of the information is complete. So please share your thoughts or opinion. If it's one word or one line, you can just tell me I'm stupid and to stop rambling on. That'll be fine. I'll just move on to the next thing, and then bring on March. I'd love to hear more about this 15.5 kilowatt hour Fogstar battery, and I can't see any information out there apart from one line in the blog post. Love to hear some more information from Fogstar and see how we can get our hands on that, and maybe I'll send this link over to my electrician and see what he thinks about getting this wired into my potential hybrid inverter. Anyway, got to stop rambling. See you next time.